everybody. Welcome into the Rest Up Podcast. It's going to be episode 26. As usual, if you guys are new, don't forget to like, subscribe, share. Welcome in. Today, we're going to be talking about decision-making as couples and how important it is to keep Jesus in the middle of it. Editor, you know what to do. Roll that intro, baby. Know what to do. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share. Just be a part of something bigger. Tim and I have a lot of great ideas coming in the near future. So stick around. Tune in and be a part of this community with us. So for this part, we're gonna start out on why God's opinion matters. And today we're gonna be diving into James. Tim, you want to take it over from here?
Yeah.
Where are we in James?
We're going to be in James 1. James 1, the first part is talking about trials and tribulations. So we're going to be in James 1:5. James 1:5 says, if any of you lack wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you.
All right, let's break that down. How do you guys feel about it? Oh, Mystery, you got some notes? All right, bet.
I came prepared. And by prepared, I mean I wrote these down like 30 minutes ago because I feel like the best way I kind of get what I want to get across is just writing it down in the moment. So pretty much the biggest thing I got from this was to kind of invite the Lord to kind of give you clarity on making decisions that are both wise and responsible. When I kind of read asking for wisdom, I think more of thinking in for long-term goals, not short-term. I think a lot of the times when we make decisions, it's for fulfillment in the moment and not fulfillment for the future. And so, yeah, I think when we ask for God, it really just gives us the clarity of being like, is this something that we're going to appreciate in the future, or is this just something I want in the flesh now? So my take.
Kind of cool.
Well, I just think like as a whole, like our life, we're supposed to be just like Jesus or as much as we can. And if we don't have his opinion and his wisdom, how are we being more like him? So I feel like looking for his opinion and his wisdom in any decision, no matter if it's something small or something really big for your future, like you were saying, I think that it's really important to see what he's thinking and what's in the Bible, because if we don't take that into account, our flesh is going to take over into what it thinks we should do. And obviously that's never right. So I think having that opinion at the top matters, because our ultimate goal on earth is to lead everyone to Christ. And if we don't have that wisdom with us, then it'll make it 10 times more hard to get people to Christ.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, how about you, Tim?
I feel like, yes, this verse could go into like couples, but I think it just goes for everything, for anyone. And I think of like when we lack wisdom, we should ask God. What I think is like when we want things before Christ, we think we know what we want for our lives. We think, oh, this is what I need to get so that when I'm older, if I have all this, I'll be happy. I'll be genuinely happy.
Yeah.
And the truth is, like, we don't know what we need. And like this goes for just people, this goes for couples, this goes for anyone. But I think that if we lean on God, like you said, and we look for his wisdom, then God will give us. And he's not only going to give us what we want, but he's going to give us what we truly need. Because I feel like many times, like when we're thinking about the future, we're like, man, I hope that I get this, and I hope I get the super nice car and the super nice house in the future with these perfect children. But that's not what God wants for our life, and that's not what we need. So I think it's like being open to what God has for us.
Yeah, I mean, I would. The only thing I'd add, you guys, obviously, I said everything. It was perfect. It was no complaints like at all. The only thing I'd add, I'd contribute, is like, once you have a relationship with the Lord and you like get that that like heart feeling like on fire for the Lord, obviously, your heart's going to be more leaning towards certain things and wanting to do more and just be involved in a lot more things. And it's like a two-way street. Like the more you get involved, the more chance, like more opportunities. I feel like the enemy can distract you in those ways instead of focusing on what God has for you. You know?
Yeah. I actually have a question about that.
Yeah.
Like when we talk about fire for the Lord, because I've been talking to like some people about this. Do you think fire for the Lord is like a weekend thing or a moment thing, or is it something that stays? And like, how do we know when we like truly have that fire?
All right. So, what I would say, I would probably want to do a little more research and think about it a little bit more. But one thing that I could think of that would relate to being on fire is every day we wake up with a choice. And the choice is, do I want to be a follower of Jesus, or do I want to lead my life? And when you make that decision every day, it's the same when it comes to relationships, friendships, romantic relationships. You're choosing to follow and love, right? Like every day, because every day is not going to be perfect in a relationship. There's going to be ups and downs, but at the end of the day, you make that choice because you know that's your other half and you love that other half. And when you make those decisions on loving, your other half with that, it all ties in. So, you choose to love Jesus. Through loving Jesus, you're going to get that fire. And that fire is going to want to be, being a leader, being a server, doing the gifts that God gives us to use on this earth. And those are the ways that you're on fire for him. It's like sometimes I feel like you can be on fire for him in the car. If you're blasting worship music, that's like one thing that I do every morning. And, you're giving praise to, Jesus and God. And, that's being on fire for him right there. There's gonna be times that you're gonna feel, less on fire, but more on fire in certain things. But I would say it's a daily commitment. I mean, it's a lifelong commitment because um yeah, I mean, I would say to summarize it, I'd say it's a everyday commitment that you choose to love and follow Jesus. And once you make that decision, you'll be on fire for him. It may not be on fire like, oh my gosh, I want to donate $1 billion, to like a humane society or something. But I would say um it's a choice. You make that choice to be on fire for him or not.
I kind of think of it as it's a like a passion.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a passion that you keep in your heart. I feel like this goes for like couples too. Like when you are on fire for God, that means you're passionate for the future and you're passionate for Christ. And when you're passionate for Christ, then I think the rest of the relationship it kind of just goes smoothly. Because if you're passionate for Christ and Christ is in the relationship, when Christ is in the relationship, there's nothing that you can do to mess it up.
Oh yeah, he always works it out.
Oh yeah,
But it's like you just have to give it to him. If it's something that's too big for you to understand in the moment, you can just be like, God, I don't understand it. Just you just give it off to him, and it usually comes around. You understand it. You get it maybe a couple days later when you're diving into scripture, and it could be just a random page just out of nowhere, and you're like, oh wow, I got my answer.
yeah, yeah,
But I get what you're saying because there's plenty of people, especially when they're new believers, they're on fire a certain way and they want to just go, 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 go. And then the thing is, once they get to a certain point, they get burned out. And then that's when they have to go do, other things like retreats and stuff like that to come back to feeling the
Yeah.
Holy Spirit. And that's a constant cycle that I had all the time when I was younger. Like definitely, like I would be doing so much involvement in the church, for example, and I'd just be on fire for the Lord, but it would just be continuous, and then at one point I'd be like, look, I gotta give myself a break. But I mean, that can just happen. But it's just about managing um, your time with the Lord specifically Like you make time and you commit to time with him, and then he takes care of all the other things.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna add real quick
Yeah.
too. I was thinking more of like literally.
Oh,
You kind of cover the bases, but you got to think about it. Like a fire is not just the big roar; it's also the embers that are almost nothing.
Yeah.
And when you think about your walk with Christ like that, you understand that there's going to be times where you're not as passionate, I guess, but because you're still looking up to him and trying to be like him, you will still be on fire for Christ, even if you're not feeling like you're doing the most that you can to represent him.
oh yeah, because it reminds me of last episode when you were talking about, sometimes we go through seasons of like we're not feeling like we're doing enough for God, but then everyone around us actually sees the fire in them,
Oh yeah.
and you see the fire in their walk. Yeah, yeah. No, I don't know. When you said that mystery, that's what I just thought of that.
Good.
It's really good. All right, so mystery. You have another verse prepared for us that we're gonna dive into.
I do.
All right.
We're going to go into Proverbs section 3, verses 5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. Well, at least we got
Make your path straight.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Tim. How do you feel about that verse?
I like that verse because I actually didn't know it was in Proverbs, but I feel like everyone knows that verse. Like, or I just like
Yes.
have heard
Yeah,
that.
the summary of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Submit to him. Is that what it says? I feel like that's kind of like a prayer. I feel like it's a hard prayer too, because it's like you're asking God to reveal himself in you in a way that is like you are like kind of taking yourself out of this position and letting God in. I feel like, especially as a new believer, that's a difficult thing to do because you're stepping into something that is selfless. And I feel like I can speak for all of us when I say that before you're Christian, you're pretty selfish. And so I think it's just a big commitment um, that is worthy of prayer because if you don't pray for it and then you're just like, oh, I'm going to do this, then.
All right. So Tim, how do you feel about that verse?
Um, I think it's pretty important, especially for non-believers and I guess couples too, like non-believing couples, I guess. Um, I feel like that's kind of like a prayer. You're saying like submit yourselves to the Lord. I feel like that's a big commitment, especially like going from like a non-believer. You're saying like, oh, I'm gonna go from doing whatever I want to now like walking basically blindly and trusting the Lord. I mean, that's what we're doing. We're kind of like
Yeah.
we're walking with our eyes closed, but we're still trusting that God's leading us the right way.
Well, because we believe that we've seen like enough evidence.
Oh no, yeah,
Yeah, to believe in Jesus. So we're not walking blindly per se, but we're walking in faith.
yeah,
And I would say that's very different than walking blindly.
yeah.
You know, I
That's
don't want anyone to misinterpret that.
Yeah. But I do feel like sometimes like our faith in Christ is just like you're walking in a direction that you don't know like where you're going, but
Yeah.
it's still
Oh yeah.
it's still gonna work out for the good.
Oh, 100%.
Base, you have any like examples or anything?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's evident in like a lot of ways in our life because obviously we don't know like what's going to happen in the future. So I feel like every decision is like that. Like I don't really have any like specific examples cuz you put me on the spot, but I mean, I just think that like every decision that I have made like with the Lord, it's been the opposite of what I thought it was going to be. So I feel like having decisions and just trusting the Lord like the verse said because we don't like know the outcome at all ever. And I feel like sometimes like that's a little scary to not know what's going to happen, but since you have the Lord, you know that it's going to work out.
That's good. History. How do you feel? You had a little bit to say about that.
All the edits for this podcast are just going to be me opening this notebook. Like, for real. So kind of what I said for this one was, and I put an exclamation point on the end of this one. Do not trust what your flesh wants. So in Proverbs, when they say to submit, you really have to not give in to what your flesh wants, because inherently your flesh wants to be sinful and do things against God. And so when you invite the Lord and you when you decide to submit to Him, He will give you more eternal things to desire and to strive for, not just things in our flesh that we want in the moment. And then also, when you trust and submit to God, He will reward you and lead you where you're supposed to go towards success. Now, success, I feel like, is a very open ended term because a lot of the times, I guess me personally, when I think of success in today's society, it's having a lot of money, it's having the power to do kind of whatever you want to, and having the influence to do what you can to everyone around you. But to other people, such as myself, I view success as uh, having a lot of connections with loved ones, family, friends, hopefully having kids one day and raising them to be children of God. And so that's what I view as success. And when we have different definitions of success and not what the definition of what the world tells us is success, then we will be happier with the outcome, just as God is, because that's what He planned for us. So
That's really good. I want to add on that.
Kind of cooked. She cooked right there.
the notebook's making me cook.
Notebook's cooking.
I want to
Yeah,
add on
Tim.
that because I heard something this week. I don't know. I forgot where it was. If it was like from like one of my leaders or something, but like I heard them saying like kind of something similar. Is that your success isn't defined by like your possessions. It's more like by your joy and like the things that you like put your time and value in. So if you're putting your time and value and trying to get as much money as you can and trying to get all these connections that are going to make you more money or more popular, then you're obviously in the wrong direction. However, if you're like making connections to try to like save children in Africa so that they can maybe like walk one day, like that's like some an example that could be like more like fulfilling. For example, Tim Tebow, he does that, and he was telling the story that in one of the books that I read, he felt like kind of like unfulfilled because like before he started, like he went to the NFL, and that's all he was trying to do. And he was like, even though that was like one of the greatest moments of my life, like something even better was to step out of my career and like help people of this world. And I feel like that's like really cool. And something else you said is that like we should like get out of our flesh. And I think that something that really helped me is at Bible study, one of our leaders said that you're not a sinner, you're not known as a sinner anymore. And I think that's really important because I feel like a lot of times we like don't blame ourselves for like, well, I'm a sinner, like it's what I do. But I mean, like we're not called sinners anymore. Like we're a child of God. We're saints, if you want to call it. Like we're called to a higher standard than just a sinner. Because the more that you call yourself a sinner, the more you're gonna want to actually sin. When you're known as a child of God, if you sin, it's like, man, what am I doing? Like
Amen.
that's not where I belong, you know?
Yeah. And you should have a good group and a good partner to hold you accountable and in ways that you're reminded by grace instead of like getting looked down upon. I'd say that's really important because um, growing up around certain church culture, I felt like I never could be open because I was worried of judgment over grace. And that's why there was times for me that it was super hard to be a part of a church or part of a youth group or part of a Bible study because I was like, I'm just too broken, and I wouldn't want anyone to see, the broken side or the part that's cracked, in the painting. Like I wouldn't want anyone to ever see the cracks in the times that I do fall short, because I would always be worried about judgment. So you gotta. I was just gonna say that's a big thing that I would recommend if you guys can, and you have either friends, partners, whatever. Just make sure you have someone that will hold you accountable in a way that is loving and graceful instead of judgment and like demeaning. Because that was a pretty big hurt for me when I was younger. Because the times that I fell short, I thought I'd have people there to help me, but it was the other way. It's not fun. It's not fun. But yeah, just wanted to throw that out there. Good recommendation. You know. Cool. What? Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like what you were kind of saying, like I experienced like a lot of church hurt in like the Catholic community because I was Catholic before. I didn't really like believe, but I was forced to go
Yeah.
to like a Catholic church. And it was like really hard for me to like believe that so many people thought that it was like a good thing for like what they were doing, because I was like in middle school at the time, and they would like make us take tests, and if we didn't pass then God didn't love us, and it was like
That is crazy.
yeah, it was like really bad, and it's just like upsetting to think about, honestly, because like the fact that it's still going on there and people are still having to go from like their
Yeah.
parents and stuff like that, like it's kind of disappointing for me. But I mean, I used to go, and they would do that, and then there was a bunch of like we just took notes the entire time of stuff like that, and it was like a really hard time. And so when I went to high school, I like didn't believe at all in anything, because why would I believe in something like that? So my like friends brought or like tried to get me to come to Cav, and I was like, I would never want to go to that, because why would I want to do something like that again, even though Catholic and Christian are like completely different. And but I didn't know that at the time, and they were like so happy about Christ, and I'm like, why are you guys so happy? Like that's so
It's
like
rules. It's all
bad.
these
Yeah,
things that I'm forced to do instead of what
Yeah.
I want to do.
exactly. So I feel like that's like another thing, because before, like back to like success, before I came to Cav, I thought that like I had no success because of like what they said to me. And then eventually I put my success in school and friends and all that stuff, and I thought I had success until I really like started going to church and gave my life to Christ. Then I knew that I had reached full success, because that's all I need. Like if I think about it, like if everything else was taken away and I still had Christ, then I would still be successful. So I feel like that's like something to think about if you're getting like unmotivated with something, like, oh, I didn't pass this test, or oh, I lost this friend or something like that, and you're like, I'm not worthy anymore. Then our ultimate goal is to just be with Jesus. So if we have nothing else and we have Jesus, then we're successful in every way. And I think that's also like good to think about for when our time is done on earth. We're not going to be thinking about how much money we made, or how many friends we had, or what car we had, or what school we went to and stuff like that. We're going to be ready to meet Jesus. And I feel like that's something to think about for now, because for later, our ultimate goal is just to be with Jesus.
Yeah. No, that's fire. I was gonna add. I've been talking to an acquaintance of mine from the gym, and he actually grew up Catholic, and he actually called me today, and we were catching up, and he was like, "Yeah, dude, I don't know where I sit with this religion thing," and I was like, "Were you once Catholic?" And he goes, "Yes," and then I'm like, it explains, so much, because there were points that he was literally by family members told if he didn't go to church, he'd go to hell.
Yeah.
Like, just as blunt as possible, as straight shot as that. And I was like, "What do you mean by that?" He was like, "Literally, the family member said if he didn't go to church, he'd go to hell." And then I was like, "Well, why would he say that?" And then I just Adam start thinking about it more, and then but yeah, no, it's crazy. It's crazy how any rule-based denomination of Christianity, they tend to have the most people I feel like walk away because they don't understand how important the relationship part is, you know? And no, it anytime I hear that stuff, it's usually from Catholicism or Mormonism. Those are the two that I hear the most. People walk away from Jesus because of the other things that they're supposed to learn and understand before they can, think about Jesus, and it's very fascinating to me.
It also makes me incredibly angry, only because,
Jesus flipped tables.
yeah, honestly. All right, so back to what I was saying. It makes me incredibly angry because these are the same people that are saying, oh, this generation does not want to be close to Jesus. They do not want to know God. They don't want to do this, that, or the other. But the example that they're representing Christ with is nothing that Christ represents. And so it turns away a lot of people from Christ. I mean, I knew a lot of people, this was probably my biggest thing with the church for a long time, is because of just a lot that I've struggled with personally. And these people making it seem like if I don't do this, that, or the other, and these set of rules, these set of laws, whatever you want to call it, that I'm not treated equal as to these other people that are putting on this facade and doing these things, but we don't truly know if they've given their heart to the Lord, like truly.
Yeah.
And it, it just goes back to, judging people and judging what their facade is. It's like when you're out in public and you see a guy that's heavily tatted, might have a mohawk, drives a motorcycle, you're probably thinking like, oh, this guy, he's probably too far gone, blah, blah, blah. He might be the most God-fearing man that you know. And like, who are you to judge these people? And at the same time, you're turning away people that want to have a relationship with the Lord because you are misrepresenting him. And I think that is the worst portrayal that you could do, personally.
Well, it's like it talks about, oh man, I forgot the book it's in. You might remember if I bring it up, but it's like I'm a paraphrase, but it talks about there's going to be people that know me, but they choose not to follow me, and they reap worse repercussions than someone that doesn't know me and doesn't follow me. You know, you know what I'm talking about?
I think it's Matthew.
Yeah, Matthew.
And I mean, I think that just goes by like why we believe in Jesus. I mean, we don't believe in Catholic Catholicism. We don't believe in Christianity. I don't even think we believe in like anything that has to do with Jesus. I think we believe in Jesus and himself. I think it talks about that in Acts. It's saying like I'm not gonna follow a group with people who want to make up rules to. I mean, it just goes back to the Pharisees.
Yeah,
they love Jesus, or they love God, but they love God their way. They love God the way that they want it. And I think that's why some of the Pharisees like turned away from being a Pharisee because they're like, wait, no, this is wrong. And I think that's incredible. But I think yeah, that just goes back to saying like we don't believe in Christianity because like so many people have been hurt from Christianity. So many people have been hurt from Catholicism, but no one's been hurt from Jesus.
Amen.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like back to like the verse you were saying, our like leader asked us like a question, like, is it worse to sin as a non-believer or to sin as a believer? And it was like hard to hear that it's worse to sin as a believer because we know what's right and wrong and we still choose to do that. So I feel like that's also like another thing from that verse. I think she read that verse and she was saying that we are held to a higher standard as a Christian, that if we do sin, obviously God will forgive us, but we know that it's wrong and we still choose to do it, as non-believers don't know what's right and wrong.
Yeah.
So they're just living their life, but they don't have any example to look for. And I feel like that's something that can be like unmotivating, but motivating at the same time, that we know what's right and we should strive to be what's right. But at the same time, sometimes it can be unmotivating because we know that we're doing something wrong. And I feel like Tim and I talk about that all the time. Like when we do like something on our own and like we say, oh, like I did this and I know it wasn't right. And we have like guilt, like a lot of guilt from that. And it's just that we hold our everyone to a higher standard if they're a Christian.
Yeah, that goes back to like saying we're not sinners. Like sinners sin and they don't like I'm not saying that they are like they're meant to sin, which but they kind of are. Like non-believers, they have nothing else but to do but sin because that's all you are when before Christ. All you are before Christ is a sinner. And then after um you become like led by the Spirit, you can become a child of God, like Nikki said, and like we get that guilt, but we get that conviction from the Spirit tell us what's right and wrong. And once we know that, like we have no right to turn away from it because we don't know any better. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know for newer Christians or people that are new to the podcast, it's going to be a little. It might be a little tough. It might be a tough pill to swallow, but we all go through this season of learning more, scripturally, biblically, theology. And it is something that it is a part of Scripture that does need to be talked about. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah.
Because it's a hard one. It was like you and I were talking about. Were we talking about it this week or last week? The chosen thing.
Oh yeah, that was
Yeah, that's gonna be a hard one to talk about. But
I just am not ready to talk about
yeah, yeah. No, I'm not. I'm not. We're not gonna dive into it today. But I'm just saying, like, there's plenty of things that are like that, and it's not. Once again, it's not something you learn. You earn. It's something you decide. It's a commitment. It's a matrimony, if you would. Like
Yeah.
you marry Jesus, and once you do that, you put him at the center of everything, and through that you kind of have like you try to give yourself like a Jesus looking glass. Like you look through it and it's like, is this of Jesus? Is this right? And then you turn it a little bit when it's a little blurry, and you're like, yeah, that looks right. I'm gonna follow that direction, and you adjust it through diving into the Word, praying over it, building that relationship, and the glasses, so to speak, will get less blurry. The prescription will get easier for you to see.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was kind of a ramble, but
No, that was good.
you guys got what I'm saying? Okay.
How do you feel about getting deeper into decision making when it comes to like sin as a couple?
It's bad. Don't do it.
Wow.
Um, I mean, it's the same. It's the same when it comes to anything. It's with relationships in general. I was kind of talking about it today with my parents, and we were going over this episode. I was just kind of getting their feedback because my parents have been together for 40 years, or 41, 40 or 39, somewhere like that, like a decently long time. And they were talking about, it goes back to, the choice of loving, what I was saying earlier. You make that choice every day. And if you make that choice to love each other, you should make that choice to love Jesus. And through that, anytime that, an open line of communication is important. Like if you feel all right, I'm gonna be honest. Like if there's days that you're feeling, a little lustful, or you are in a situation of something like that, the decision making to potentially fall short into sin, your partner should also be your accountability partner in a lot of ways and be like, whoa, 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 whoa. We gotta take a step back here, go to the other side. I'm gonna go take a cold shower, we're gonna choose to pick Jesus like that. And we talk about, I choose Jesus over the other things, and through that, the decision will be made. And it's one of those things you have to do together, because if one person is always wanting to do this sin thing, drugs, alcohol, whatever it is, it should be something that you should accept, that your partner, or your wife, your girlfriend, your fiance, you y'all should have a strong enough understanding that you hold each other accountable. And there's going to be times
that there's going to be chances to fall short together, and there's going to be times that I'm going to say you'll have to man up on either side of the fence and make that decision. Hey, this is not for us. This is not of Jesus. This is not of God. And we need to rethink it. And it should be the girls should be just much involved in it as the guys, and it's not something that the man is the only one that's supposed to do it, because if there are other half, they're 50% of us, so they should be half of the decision making. They should be just as much involved as we are, as the spiritual leaders of the house. Being a good leader is also being a good listener, also being um, unapologetically involved in the decision making. Like, it shouldn't be, hey, I'm sorry, babe, but I think we need to go this direction. It should be, you both should be aligned in a way that if a decision's made, you both conquer that decision together. You know what I'm saying? Okay, good. Because if the goal of dating is to eventually be married, even though my mom's favorite quote, no dating before marriage.
Interesting.
And I know that's a wild one, but it's a tough one to crack and understand. But our the dates and the fun stuff should be after. But the goal should be, is this person my other half? And I'm going to commit to a life forever until death do us part with that person. And when you think about it logically and you think about it biblically, it's something that's a lot more serious than just going on dates. And getting older now, I understand what she means by it, because I was blessed enough to have them, and just learning from them and seeing what they looked for. It helped me look for finding my future wife. And it made me decide what I want, what I look for. And because the goal is you two become one, and you guys are a unit. And the older I get, the more value I see in it, and more importance of being a unit.
Hmm. I do want to talk about like more like decision making, because
Mhm.
I Bible study, Aiden actually said this, and it really stuck out to me, because I was like, well, someone's got to say it, and he
Yeah.
said it, and I was like, finally, like if it wasn't gonna be him, then I was
You're
gonna try
going
to.
there. Side.
on.
But I was like, it's something that needs to be addressed. That was pretty serious and real. But he said that I feel like Christians like try to get as close to sin as they can until they're like, all right, that's too far, and then they
Yes.
restart, and then they're like, wait, that was a little too far again. But I feel like that's so true, because like so many times we're like, we don't know, we pretend in our mind we're like, I don't know what's right or wrong. But if you're already questioning it, then it's probably
You're wrong.
yeah. I think it's really important that we like know that, because like we can't just like mess around with sin. Like we read about this last Bible study with at my dad's house.
Yeah.
Or at my house. And we talked about how
Well, you don't own it.
we talked about how the devil is like a roaring lion getting ready not only to just like toy around with you, he's literally here to destroy your mind and like kill you. Like it's not sin isn't just a joke. It's ultimate like distraction. Like sin means like in my opinion just distraction from God.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like supposed to be meant as like um Jesus break or like
Yeah.
anything.
No, it's when you say that, I think about how when Jesus was carrying the cross up the hill, since he was accepting all of our sin, all the pain he had to endure. Because Tim, you were telling me this, right? We were talking about this one day, like the historical aspect of Jesus. And as he was walking up, the Romans were whipping him, and he was getting whipped, and the tips of the whip had metal like prongs that were scraping every time. And when you were bringing up sin like that, that was the picture I had in my head of why we should run and not associate ourselves with sin, because all we're doing is adding, metaphorically speaking, we're adding to the whips. We're doing more damage to Jesus because of our decisions and all of those things. So like I don't know. For me, that right there, that image is stuck in my head, so that's gonna help me be honest and think if I keep doing if I live a life of sin, all I'm doing is hurting Jesus. And I don't want to do that, you know? I don't think anyone would want to hurt a person besides the the crazy people. But like an average person, when they're walking down the street, they're not gonna be like, and turn right into that person. They're like, oh, let me give that person some space. Let me give them some room so they can walk past safely. Or like when there's a bicyclist in the bike lane, you automatically, oh, I don't want any chance of hitting them. I'm gonna get on that middle line and go around. You know what I'm saying? So when when you're on that verge and you're thinking about the opportunity to fall short in that sin, just remember all the pain and suffering that Jesus endured for us to have everlasting grace. You know? Amen. Yeah, good point. Sorry.
Yeah.
I feel really comfortable. I don't know.
Yeah, it is comfy.
Yeah.
It was very helpful.
I do have like a direction I want to go at. I don't know where it's gonna go, but I feel like I really should share it.
Huh?
And this morning I was trying to make like time for God,
Yeah.
but I was like in 100 different places in my mind, so I didn't know how to do it. I got in my word for 5 seconds, and then all of a sudden I was like, no, I just want to watch The Chosen for a bit. So I was watching Chosen, and I was like just like amazed how like Jesus connects with us like so well. Like I was watching, literally, this is a Chosen. This is a representation
Yeah.
of Jesus's life. So this isn't like fully accurate. This is not exactly what happened. This is just humans mimicking what might have possibly happened. But it was just so cool to see. I was watching the part where Jesus raises Lazarus from the dead, and God connects with us so much to the point where after he sees Martha like on her knees crying out to God, like you just see God and he's just standing there looking at the disciples for a second, and then he like just falls down to the ground and cries. Think about it. I mean, God has the power to raise Lazarus from the dead. He already knows that, yet he still chooses to like cry with us, even though he has the answer to her problem. He chooses to like just just cry with them and be like, I understand you. Like, I understand your pain. Like, I came down for you. Here I am for you. And I think it was just so cool. And like, I just took that with me like throughout the whole day too. That just like Jesus is the person who raised Lazarus from the dead, and that's the same spirit that lives in me, and that's the same spirit that lives in us.
Yeah.
I just get goosebumps thinking about it. It's so
I just feel
fascinating.
invincible.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when I like feel like the Holy Spirit's really inside of me, dude, I feel like I fly. I know that's so funny. Like,
You ever try it?
No,
Absolutely
because
not.
at the same time I understand reality. Well, yeah, no, it's yeah. Oh, that's awesome. And that just goes to show too, when you may not have wanted to dive into the Word, you still wanted to receive the Holy Spirit, and you did.
Well,
Even though you didn't want to read some pages from the Bible, at the same time, your heart still wanted to receive the Holy Spirit and receive some enlightenment, so to speak. And since you still had that mindset of wanting to receive, it was just instead of a form of books, a book with history and pages and letters and words, you saw it on the screen, but you still received what you were searching for, you know?
yeah. And the point I'm trying to make here is that like, because we're talking about couples, I want to make that point that like, even if we already know like the answer to the person's problem before we like try to like answer the problem, because like I feel like I'm someone who always wants to like, hey, I know that you're having a terrible day, but I'm here to help you. I'm not here to like just like say, hey, I understand. It's okay. It's okay. I just get annoyed saying it's okay. So I try to fix the problem.
Yeah.
But sometimes I feel like you just need to like sit in their presence like Jesus did and fall to your knees with them and be like, hey, I understand you. Like, I'm sorry that you're going through this. I want to be with you through this hardship, and let's get through it together. Instead of just like, get up,
I keep looking at Mystery like, oh man, Ten's calling me out right here. Calling myself out. Well, we
Right.
gotten better.
I
We got
mean,
better.
I feel like that's also just like a thing that guys do. You guys
Yeah.
think in terms of finding a solution when we're just like, no, we just want you to listen sometimes. Like, I know the answer already. Trust me, we have enough brain cells in our head to come up with the solution. We're not
We have a better
asking.
solution.
We have the solution. We just want the comfort and the presence of being like, it'll be okay. And sometimes we just need that for maybe an hour, 2 hours, the rest of the evening, wake up the next day, we'll be fine. It'll, be yesterday's problem.
I kind of think of that as like your faith too. Like when you're struggling and stuff, obviously you eventually end up looking for a solution from God. But at first, you're not, what can I do? What can I do? Like from God, it's just like, God help me, like comfort me, stuff like that. And I feel like that's something to think about, like on the other side. Like, obviously, our favorite person is Jesus, but another favorite person is you guys. Does that make sense? So when we start, like, we look at God and Jesus and say, can you please help comfort me? Like, I need healing right now. We look for that from him, and we also look for that from you guys. So it's kind of like, I think of it like that. Like, I want healing from Jesus, and I also want comfort from like you guys.
Well,
But
yeah, but I think some of the healing that we get from Jesus is just like a hug from us, because like
Mhm.
obviously Jesus isn't physically here, but his Holy
Oh,
Spirit
yeah.
is here.
I mean, but Jesus is always speaking through us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So it's like,
exactly.
it's not just,
Yeah, speaking through me. Hey, we got to conquer this problem right now. Let's get it out of the way. Oh, you're crying? Okay, well, that's fine. It's okay. Let's get.
if you're,
I learned that's
I
what
mean,
not to do.
you're speaking out of love. It's through the Holy Spirit and through Jesus.
Your partner should definitely have that kind of understanding, I would say. And if it's something you guys don't have yet, you need to work on it.
Yeah. Emotional maturity. A lot of men do not reach that point until like much older. So if you have a man who is emotionally mature, cling on to him. Jesus is incredibly hard to find.
Oh, let's go.
So
Let's go.
I'm grateful for you. But
Oh, that's good. What?
I hear your call, Mom.
Less or hard?
Stop it.
Um, all right. I feel like, all right, Tim, I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel like, all right, I'm going to marginalize here,
Mhm.
but I feel like, do you guys have like code words that mean things to yourself that like we don't understand and we take those words at face value?
Can you give me an example?
Like,
I'm kind of lost right now.
it's fine. Or, yeah, I'm okay. Like, would you like to like break that down so like we can understand it better? Like,
It obviously means you've ticked us off, but we're not just trying to outwardly say that
okay.
most of the time. If I say I'm fine, it's like you just annoyed me,
Oh, okay.
but I'm not trying to be, lashing it out on you. That's also not fair. I'm just kind of like, because I feel like a lot of people too, they'll just be like, I'm fine, it's whatever. And like, they'll just go and like harbor it within themselves because they don't want to outlash that onto other people. Because like me personally, I feel bad when I feel like I'm burdening other people with like what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
So I don't know how Macy feels, but
yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. I just like what you were saying, like, if like I say like I'm fine, like most of the time I'll say what's happening if it's a big deal. But if I say it's fine, I just like want to like get it over with before it creates an argument. I don't know if that like makes sense.
Yeah.
Like if there's something that's like that serious, I'd be like, no, like that really upset me. Like we need to talk about it. But if it's just like oh, I'm fine. Like, I don't want to create something big out of it. I just like kind of want to like move on, I feel like.
So what creates arguments? Because we
Yeah.
all have them,
Yeah.
right? So like, what are the things that like start it?
I mean, I feel like women and men are definitely very different and we think obviously very differently. And I feel like most of the time arguments come from just differences, like differences in the way our mind thinks and how our opinions are. And even though at the end of the day, we might have some different opinions, I think that arguments are just a way of trying to feel like you're correct. I don't know. I feel like that's just how I think of it. Like, I feel like arguments aren't necessary. It's just that our flesh wants to prove the other person right. So we end up arguing about it. But ultimately, they start from just differences in the way we are, I feel like.
Yeah. Especially if they escalate, it's usually after a certain point, it's more about your ego and wanting to prove to the other person that you are right. But if you take a different approach, and instead of having an argument, you're just having a conversation about what happened and you're explaining your rationale and not getting heated about it, then you're not really having an argument. You're just listening to the other person
We're
and
having a discussion.
going, I mean, pretty much, but
Yeah.
when I don't know, when I hear the word like argument, it's like, I don't think you should have a lot of, I don't know, me personally, I'm not a big like heated argument person
I agree. Yeah. I'm the
because
same boat.
it's easy to calm yourself down and get to a point of just like, because you also have to think to yourself, like, to just listen.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like sometimes we always just want to talk and we don't want to listen enough. And it's like, if I listen, I think I can like really reach a good agreement and a good compromise
Yeah.
or whatever we're speaking about.
I do think then, like, if we're switching the word argument and conversation, I think we should still have like those like conversations because there's
Yeah.
a lot
Oh,
of things.
100%.
Yeah, because there's a lot of things that you will disagree on, and if you disagree on them forever, then you're not gonna have that closer relationship. I think that you need to have those conversations so that you can have the right mindset. Because if you don't have the right mindset, if you're living in the same household with someone you don't even have the same mindset as them, then it's kind of like
Yeah, you're just like acquaintances. You're not really like building a relationship.
really, yeah.
And would you say it's important to get the hard conversations out of the way as like not as soon as possible, but like relatively early on in the relationship? Or do you think like you guys should wait? Like, do you guys think like you should wait a little bit? Like, because in when Missy and I first started dating, I'm very analytical. Like I'm very opinionated. So there was a lot of things that I was worried to talk about because I didn't want to be, offensive because I don't know, I really loved mystery. I really love mystery now. And I was just like, well, if she disagrees with me, she's gonna leave me. And
Trust me, I thought the same exact way.
okay, all right.
When, I mean, that's just how you kind of are in the beginning of a relationship because you're just like, I don't want to say something that's going to scare them off. But like,
Scare me off.
if saying
yell stuff back that would scare me off.
if saying one thing is going to scare that person off, then that person is not who you should be with.
Yeah.
Because that's stupid.
Yeah.
To
be frank, it is stupid. Because if it's one thing, why is that making or breaking a whole relationship?
Yeah. I feel like in the beginning of Tim and I's relationship, it was all like, we never argue, like, it's so good, and all this stuff. And then, like, we hit a point where it was like, oh, you think that, and I think this. Like, what are you talking about? Like, at first, like, in the beginning, we'd be like, I value your opinion so much. I totally agree. And then 6 months later, I'm like, that's so dumb. Like, what are you thinking about? It's just like, there's like a switch, but like, I feel like that you hit a point where you know that they're not going to leave from just one thing. Like, you know that there's like a point in your relationship where you're like, this person, like, I want to be with them. And one little thing isn't going to make or break the relationship. But in the beginning, I definitely feel like it's the same for everyone, like the honeymoon phase.
Yeah.
Like you can't say anything about differences.
You don't want to like ruin the like I guess the perfectness of it, because I mean when you see people in their like honeymoon stage, you're just like la 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 all the time and like life is great and whatever, but like that's not the reality of relationships.
Yeah. I feel like though, the more that we put God in the center, less of those things happen. Like we just
more la la la.
yeah. I'll tell you right now, more
La 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 la.
stop just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Love you, King Julian. That's you.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like I feel like yeah, I mean, when God gives you your other half and you guys work hard and you put Jesus in the middle, you guys your things are just going to align because if you both are diving into the word, you both have an understanding of how important a relationship with Jesus is, everything else just gets easier. Now, there's going to be times that it's not easy, especially if you grow up in different households, you're going to grow up in different environments. So there's going to be core beliefs that you have that you feel very strongly on. And sometimes they can be very scripturally accurate, sometimes they can just be a part of the household. And I feel like sometimes those can be very difficult topics or difficult subjects. But in the end, if you have the mindset of keeping Jesus in the middle, it'll all work out. But I definitely feel like culture and in the house, y'all being at the age that y'all are at home, you're living with your parents, you see how your parents communicate between one another, you see those I'm just gonna say I see them too. I see the pros and I see the cons. And when you're when you're together with another person, you'll see things that are positive that your parents do that you do in yourself, and then also you'll see the negative things that you do. And that should be the goal. You should be able, like our parents' goal, we're supposed to learn the goods and the bads from them. We're supposed to learn from their mistakes. Like we're supposed to be, I don't know. I'm not saying we're supposed to be the better ones, but we can be. And um, yeah, I mean, I was just gonna to add to that, like I don't know. You guys get what I'm saying though?
Yeah. I do want to make a claim though
Yeah.
that I think especially before marriage, I think like if you are doing the right things, I don't think it's gonna be La La Land. I think it's actually gonna be the hardest part of your relationship. And you can like correct me if you don't believe like that's true, but I feel like I tell Macy this all the time, like because if it's not the sin that's making us grow apart from God, then it's this argument. I'm telling her like there's always something trying to get in the way of like our relationship so that we can like stay together. And I think that the enemy can reach us while we're not fully together. But once we're married, that's when the Lord does, or that's when the enemy can't like physically like attack us. And I think like especially like now that you're dating, like and that the enemy knows what your plans are for the future and what the Lord's plans are for the future, then that's when he's gonna attack you the most. Like, and I really, really feel that. I mean, the past year has been like, even though it's been like so much fun, we can like both say that it's been really hard. Like the amount of struggles that we've been through in the midst.
Yeah. All right. Now that I know where you're going with it and what you're talking about. Yes. 100. Yes, I agree.
Yeah. I just feel like there's like so many like arguments that are like just stupid for no reason. Like we talk about like for example at church they were talking about like how like some arguments start by like literally just talking about like milk and like how I don't know, it's just like stupid arguments, but they become real. And that's just how the
Salt is white. No, I said salt is light. Those are the kind of arguments my grandparents would have.
okay, well that's another stupid argument.
I get you.
But yeah, it's just like there's pointless arguments that lead to something that it shouldn't lead. And that's where I think the enemy like comes in because it's like obviously it's pointless, but the enemy makes it something that it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And I definitely think that it is hard, especially when you start dating. I feel like no, when you start dating, you think it's gonna be perfect, like you said. But once you get into that cycle of like between started dating until like actual marriage. I think the middle is like the hardest.
Yeah, especially when we're looking at rings. That might have started an argument. No, I'm just kidding.
I had a lot of fun. So.
I know you did. The sales lady was super nice.
I didn't have any concern. I was like, "Ooh, this one's really pretty. Ooh, over 1.5 carats, yes, ma'am. My fingers look like Piggly Wiggly. Give me a big rock."
So we're in the store. We did our 3-year anniversary this weekend.
Congrats.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Look at us. Look at us.
And so we went over to Lake Buena Vista. We stayed in Disney Springs. We had a good time, and we were in the ring store. And I'm like, yeah, this is our budget, XYZ. And she said, oh, okay, great. And then I'm like, but I gotta go to the bathroom. So Mystery's in there, and we're looking at stuff around my price range. And I come back from the bathroom, and homegirl's got 4 rings on, 4 different sizes, all way over the budget, like way over. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on over here? And those are the arguments that happen for sure.
You're gonna have to edit your budget. Gonna have to double it.
It's getting hot in here.
Start sweating profusely. Yeah.
Wow. Menacingly. Well, yeah, I mean, do you guys ever get to a point that you guys, all right, like y'all both have like the realization that this is a pointless argument, and then y'all are just like apologetic? And you're like, oh, sorry for this stupid thing, and then y'all are good again? Or how does that work? How does that like look for you guys? I'll let her talk on this.
I mean, I don't really know. I mean, yeah, but like to the point where it's like I feel like what are we doing? Like what are we arguing about right now? Like I also like try to think about it like obviously our main goal, and even if we have different opinions, our one opinion is the same, that Jesus Christ is Lord. And I have like this like kind of like set up in my head, and I like kind of saw it somewhere. It was like if someone's standing on the left and someone's standing on the right and they're different directions, but Jesus is in the middle, the left person is going to agree that you're supposed to go right, and the right person's supposed to believe that you're supposed to go left, but you're both going to Jesus. And even though your opinion and you have different thoughts and feelings about it, your main goal should be just pointing to Jesus. And even if it looks a little different, at the end of the day, we both still have that same opinion. So I feel like I try to think of that. But I mean, there are times where like we will talk it out and we still don't agree about what we're arguing about. Like it could be something so dumb, but it could still be. I feel like that's something that we've like talked about, is like Tim is very lighthearted, but I take things to heart and I get like upset easier. So when we still don't agree, it's kind of hard for us to be like, this is dumb because it truly hurt my feelings. So it's not really dumb. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I feel like at like a couple days pass and be like, no, yeah, like we're fine now. We never get like mad at each other or anything like that. It's just like a little bit of like conversation. But like I feel like sometimes we do say like, okay, this is dumb. Like, what are we talking about? And then the next minute it's like we actually have to have a conversation about it.
I feel like sometimes it's just so dumb to the point where like I don't even think about everything she says. Like in the point. No, not like
whoa.
This is why we have worms over here.
I feel like sometimes I don't think about the Jesus part because I'm kind of just selfish to the point where I think the argument is just so dumb that like I just need to get my point across because it's so dumb.
Yeah.
Like it'll be something like that like isn't worthy of fighting. So I'm just like I just tell my opinion, and then when she doesn't understand it, I just get mad. And that's obviously wrong, but it's like reminds me of this morning when I was watching The Chosen. It's like I need to be more like Jesus, to just like, even though I have the answer, I just need to like sit there for her and understand her.
Oh,
A little pat on the back. Gotcha. Yep. Good boy.
Good boy.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't feel like we even have arguments or discussions. Like I feel like so to go off what you were saying, I feel like Mystery and I we don't really like I know this is gonna sound cliche, but we don't really argue. It's like when we go on our walks or we're in the car, we just kind of converse, like we just talk and stuff will come up that's like that
We
Dis-
disagree.
yeah.
We definitely still have disagreements, but I think the thing about both of us is that we appreciate each other's perspective more than like what we disagree on or being right about something. Because I always love hearing what John has to say about something, and I feel like you enjoy hearing what I have to say on something because we'll usually have two different things that we're kind of focusing on when we say something or when we're discussing something. And like, I don't know, like we're someone we want to like understand different perspectives so that we can, like,
yeah, get better.
yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, because since I've lived, homeschooler life, labeled dork, nerd, if you would, comic book store kid, and you being, an athlete in high school, just doing all those things, being involved in school and around people, constantly. For me, like asking you stuff, like I don't know. I'm more or less. I tend to be more interested on why you think that instead of, oh my gosh, I can't believe she thought of that. Like,
No, and I agree. That's what I think
But I
the same
normally
way
ask
when I
why.
listen to you because I'm like, I want to know like how you truly think, I don't know. Try to always like speak, like a no judgment zone.
yeah,
I know
I feel like we
I
have
know
that.
that's like such a cliche. Planet Fitness, copyright me, but like it's true. If you shouldn't be afraid to speak to your partner about anything. You shouldn't
Yeah.
have to worry about retaliation or them getting angry at you for something because if they're truly like wanting to listen to you, they will make it known, like in a way that's like, I'm listening to you, I'm understanding you. You can still state your opinion and be like, well, this is how I think. And, after doing that a couple times, usually we'll reach a perspective that's like, okay, this makes sense to how you think. It might not be still how I think, or it might take me a long time to get to that perspective,
Yeah.
but I understand why you have that perspective. That's really all you need. You don't need to agree on everything. You just need to understand why people have that perspective. And that makes it a
Yeah,
lot
because
easier.
everybody's different.
Yeah.
But as long as God, the Trinity, is in the middle, it'll all work out. Hey.
Praise Jesus.
Yeah, no, literally. I mean, that's all you need. It's like, how I said last time. So we've been watching Duck Dynasty,
I love that show.
Duck Commander,
So
and what? You know what it is? No.
basically like a kind of like a
Sadie Robinson is.
her dad.
Yeah, her dad's like the guy that's so. If anyone's ever watched that show, they're always all over the place. They're always, crazy junk going on. But one of the things that, they'll even argue, call each other not the nicest names, like to their face on camera.
Mhm.
But one of the things that's always the closing part is at the end of the day, they're around the table having dinner together. They're eating together and everything's fine at the end of the day. And, I just relate to that as I want that. Like I want to make sure at the end of the day when they're all together, they're going over grace and in the end they're fine because they choose, to put that stuff aside and at the end their goal is to be a part of the family to be unified. And I don't know. I think arguments or discussions. Like I think that's like a too much of an extra word. It's just talking.
Yeah,
Just,
that's what I always say.
building that relationship because there's gonna be times that you have the hard talks or times that everything is la 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 la. I'm gonna make that a sound clip.
You should.
But yeah, it's just it's one of those things to wrap it all up, it's just so if you want to be with someone, you have to make that choice every day. And it's the same to make that decision to have that relationship with Jesus. And through that, there's going to be times that you feel further away. There's going to be ups and downs, and that's just life. Life isn't easy, and that's just how it is. It's something that you have to accept. That there's going to be times that you might have a heated argument, but if you're both really aligned with each other and really working on, building a firm foundation with is the mind of a partnership for life, and it's she's your best friend or he's your best friend, and there's nothing that can get in the way of that. It's just going to be little, when you're walking with like clogs or flip flops or whatever, you get a little rock in there and it hurts, but then you're like, I got to shake it out. It's kind of the same thing. There's going to be times that you're walking with shoes on and everything's great. You can run. I don't run, but you know what I'm saying? Like you can run, and there's just going to be that one time that little rock gets in there and it really irritates you, and you have to pull your shoe off and get it off. But in the end, you still got your shoes, they still work, and you keep on walking along.
Great analogy.
Earlier?
Huh?
Just like earlier?
Yes, literally like earlier when I had a freaking, I don't know, rock or stick or something in there. It might have been a bee. I don't know. No, I'm just
Do not scare me like that. Don't do that.
Well, yeah, it's just one of those things that if you love God, you love Jesus, and you love your relationship that you're in, it's just something that you strive for, and you want to be the best that you can, and putting all that energy in putting all that energy into it. There's going to be times that the battery's just low, and to charge it, you give it to God, or you dive into the word and you build, you build that work, that relationship, and through that you'll get charged again to be able to conquer the next problem. Well,
All right.
that's good. You guys like it? You like it, Tim? Are you sure?
Yeah, I did.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for being a part of this community, just being a part of the journey with us as we, grow closer to God, and we do this week after week. So just thank you guys so much for being here, being a part of it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share. You guys know what to do, and we will see you guys next week. Love you. Go out, walk in faith, be bold, and don't be afraid to choose Jesus first over the world. You guys are amazing. We love you, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace.